So very good morning friends. I am before you to discuss one very renowned drama written by William Shakespeare, which is a part of a semester 4 UG syllabus, and that is none other than Macbeth. If you want to know more about Macbeth and its other varieties, you should always watch movies of Vinay Bharat, because his movie came into Bollywood, that is Maqbool, based upon Macbeth. Then he made Omkara, which is based upon Othello. So this is for your just references. What is the special about this Macbeth? As you know that A.C. Bradley has talked about the 4 greatest tragedies written by William Shakespeare. In the last video I have discussed about whom the word, or HAMLET, Othello, Macbeth and King Lear. This is one of them, Macbeth. And there are many dialogues whose resonance is still felt and very oft quoted dialogues. Now let me discuss this drama in short, what exactly the synopsis of the drama is. The 3 witches tell the Scottish general Macbeth that he will be the king of Scotland one day. And encouraged by his wife, Lady Macbeth, who actually loves her husband a lot, she encouraged Macbeth, and Macbeth, on her encouragement, kills the king and becomes the new king himself and kills more people out of paranoia. One murder leads to many other murders. So out of paranoia, out of frenzy, he kills many others. And it leads to civil war. Civil war erupts to overthrow Macbeth and resulting in more deaths. This is what is all tragedy is all about. Now, before I discuss Macbeth, let me delve into the characters. There are major characters like Duncan is the king, and he has 2 sons, Dunalbin and Malcolm. And there are 2 witches governed by Hecate. And there is another major powerful general, Banquo, who is at par with Macbeth. Then Macbeth and Lady Macbeth is in the center, the cynosure of the total tragedy. This Banquo has a son Fleance, and then there is Macduff, then Lady Macduff, then there are many other minor characters. But the major characters are this, Now, Fleance played a very important role to bring back the monarchy, and let us see how the things revolve around that. Now in Act 1, on a bleak Scottish moorland, there is a battlefield. Macbeth and Banquo, 2 of the Duncan's major generals, important figures, discovered 3 strange women. Those were the witches. And they were discussing something and they were having long dialogue. The major point is, one of them said, "Fair is foul, foul is fair, hover through the fog and fill the air." This is in Scene 1, Act 1. So fair is foul, foul is fair. It shows that there is setup. That setup says that there is something fishy, something cloudy is there, and it ignites our curiosity sitting in audience. Then the witches' prophecy, they forecast that Macbeth will be promoted twice to Thane of Cawdor. Actually, he is Thane of Glamis in the beginning, and now he will be promoted to a position of rank of Thane of Cawdor, which is a rank of the aristocracy bestowed by grateful kings. Like in India, it is lords or jamindars. Like that, there is a position in rank of aristocracy, Thane of Cawdor. And they said from Thane of Glamis, he will become Thane of Cawdor, and then he will ultimately turn into a king of Scotland. So I have already talked about in the previous video that Macbeth is a tragedy where the Macbeth has a tragic flaw of our ambition. How does this our ambition corrupts us? In our personal life, how do we become tragic because of becoming over ambitious? You say it. Now, In Act 1, to enhance the magnitude, go back to the definition given by Aristotle that tragedy must have a magnitude. Three Witches gives a heroic entrance to the Macbeth, the central character Macbeth. A drum, a drum, a drum, a drum, Macbeth doth come. This is how they are welcoming him. A drum, a Macbeth doth come. In this Act 1, Scene 3, and the first which says, all hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. Then the second which said, all hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Scauda. And the third which said, all hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter. So these are the three dialogues, and in these dialogues, my friends, try to see the germination of our ambition in the cerebral cortex mind of Macbeth. All hail Macbeth, that shall be the king of hereafter. So then the generals want to hear more, but the weird sisters disappeared. So in Act 1, Scene 3, germinated the seed of our ambition in the heart and mind and soul of Macbeth. Now, in Act 1, we see that soon afterwards, King Duncan names Macbeth, the Thane of Scauda. So the first prophecy came true. As a reward for his success in the recent battles, the promotion seems to support the prophecy, quite obvious. And the king then proposes to make a brief visit that night to Macbeth's castle at Inverness. And then he said, yeah, I'll come to you. And there was a good dialogue exchange between them, and mother said, like, you are my cousin also. He was very much, in fond of Macbeth, and he was loving him like his own cousin. So Lady Macbeth receives news from her husband. From the battlefield, he wrote one letter about the prophecy and his new title. So once Lady Macbeth came to know about the new prophecy, she becomes very much curious, and she herself becomes very much over-ambitious. Now, through the letter from her husband, one letter is there, this is a long letter, a part I am going to read for you so that the clarity will be there. She is reading that letter in soliloquy. What is that in the letter? Thane of Glamis, you are already. And now, of Cawdor also. Then you must be king also, as promised by the witches. Yet I am worried about your nature, because you are too soft-hearted. Huh? This is what she is thinking, because she knows that her husband is very soft-hearted, and perhaps the things which is required to become a king is missing, and he is in her husband. That is why she says, Thane of Glamis you are already, Thane of Cawdor you are now. So if this has become true, definitely you shall be the king also. But I am worried about your nature. And that nature is nothing but the soft-heartedness of Macbeth. This is Act 1, Scene 5. And then she vows to help him become king by whatever means are necessary. And what she says in her soliloquy once again in Act 1, Scene 5. Come to my woman's breasts and turn their milk into poison, O spirits of murder. From wherever you may be lurking in your invisible form, promoting evil in the world. And now she is invoking, the spirits of murder. And she tries to make herself more courageous for this evil deed. And she's igniting that kind of, internal, energy. Come to my woman's breasts and turn their milk into poison, O spirits of murder. From wherever you may be lurking in your invisible form, promoting evil in the world, please come to me and fill my breast and bosom with the poison which is required for the moment. Now here we see that Lady Macbeth appears more resolute to make her husband the king of Scotland. So this was Act 1, Scene 5. After she hears the news of arrival of King Duncan, now in Act 1, Scene 5, then she further advises Macbeth. We see that Duncan has come to Inverness, the palace, and in his presence in the castle, they are talking about some plans. Then she further advises Macbeth. Your face betrays the strange feelings, my lord, and people will be able to read it like a book. आपका चेहरा तो खुली किताब की तरह है. Your face is just like an open book. In order to deceive them, you must appear the way you expect to look. Greet the king with a welcoming expression in your eyes, your hands, and your words. You should look like an innocent flower. You should look like an innocent flower, but be like that snake that hides underneath the flower. The king is coming and he has got to be taken care of. Let me handle tonight's preparations, because tonight will change every night and hereafter. This is what he said, that because tonight will change every night and day for the rest of our lives. So let me go for the preparations. Let the things be in my command, because your face is just like an open book. You cannot hide the emotions, You should, what is the expression or what is the meaning of this dialogue? That she says that my husband, you are just like, like an innocent person whose face is all like, transparent, all expressions coming. You should hide your expressions. You should hide your expression and welcome your king. In your eyes, you should be very clear. Come on, king, I welcome you, but there should be a snake underneath. This is what she is trying to say. So this is the most remarkable scene. And then in Act 1, Scene 7, you see that Macbeth too seems impatient and a bit more resolute. Now he is becoming more firm, convinced by his wife that if it were done when it is done, then it were well, it were done quickly. जब इस काम को करना ही है, तो क्यों नहीं जल्दी करते? Why to delay? If I have to do this murder, if I have to commit this crime, why to delay? It should be sooner. I should do it, because he is now know himself that if he delays, if he postpones, he cannot do it hereafter. So see, this is how Shakespeare is taking the scenes ahead. Why I am quoting more from Act 1 and Act 2? Because these are the important acts. After that, it is very easy, the story go very smoothly. Now in Act 1, Scene 7, and this will also help you with the character sketch. Note all these dialogues. While you write your answer, quote these dialogues and you will get good marks, because your answer should be like a sandwich where the quotation should come in between. It makes a sense. Now in Act 1, Scene 7, Lady Macbeth instigates him. What does she say? He was feeling a bit shaky. Macbeth was feeling a bit shaky, but he was trying to instigate him. That I have suckled a baby, and I know how sweet it is to love the baby at my breast. But even the baby was smiling up at me. I would have plucked my nipple out of its mouth and smashed its brain into the wall, against the wall, if I had sworn to do the same as you have sworn to do. She says, what is the meaning? She says that I have suckled a baby. I know the pleasure of feeding a baby. But even if a baby would be in my lap, I would have thrown him out if I had taken a vow of killing such kind of a plan I had in my mind. So she says, I have suckled a baby, and I know how sweet it is to love a baby at my breast. But even as the baby was smiling at me, I would have plucked my nipple out of its mouth and smashed its brain out against the wall if I had sworn to do the same way I have sworn to do this. This is what she says, and she is very much, forceful in her persuasions. Now in Act 2, Scene 1, the Act 1 finishes there. In Act 2, Scene 1, we see that Macbeth returns to his castle, followed almost immediately by King Duncan. The Macbeths plot together to kill Duncan and wait until everyone is asleep. Now he is there in the Inverness, the king is there, the Duncan is there. Now they are plotting how to kill. And this Macbeth, as you know, that he is having a conflict. Should I kill or I should not kill? Because he is very kind-hearted. That is why he is always in confusion. Now he is trying to, Macbeth is trying to, he appears too tense, and let us see the dialogue, through the dialogue. He writes in Act 2, Scene 1. Is this a dagger? Is this a knife which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. Now he is having that kind of hallucinations. He is afraid, because suppose you are not a professional criminal. Suppose you are so much innocent and you have taken a very harsh decision geared by our ambitions. You are not professional. That kind of nervosa psychosa comes to your life, and you become so much, hallucinated. And here also we see that Macbeth has hallucinated. Is this a dagger which I see before my eyes? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. Now he's trying to clutch the knife in the air. So that kind of paranoia which I talked about is there in this drama. Now Act 1, Scene 7, where see that later he appeared unwavering. After some time, he also recollected his tempo and zeal and courage to do something wrong. And then he appeared very unwavering, and he writes that I am settled and bent up. False face must hide what a false heart doth know. I have to. This is what T.S. Eliot has written in one of his poems. There will be time to prepare us to meet the faces that we meet. So we are actually hiding our actual emotions. Macbeth too has to hide his emotions before the king, and that is why he said, I am very much settled. Now I am bent up, and false face must hide what the false heart doth know. This is the dialogue here. It is there in this Macbeth. Now Act 2, Scene 2. There is appointed time. At the appointed time, Lady Macbeth gives the guards drugged wine, so Macbeth can enter and kill the king. He regrets this almost immediately. After killing Duncan, at the moment he kills, the psychology of Macbeth, is quite evident from this dialogue. He's trying to narrate what happened inside, and he says to Lady Macbeth, the voice kept crying, sleep no more, to everyone in the house. Macbeth has murdered sleep, and therefore Macbeth will sleep no more. Macbeth will sleep no more. Macbeth will sleep no more. This is the psychology. After killing the king, this kind of feeling he's trying to narrate, oh my God, what I did. And from every corner, as if my castle is staring to me, the walls are staring to me, Macbeth shall sleep no more. So what is the main gist? That once you go for wrong, for achieving something, in the next slide you will get a dialogue. So, in Act 2, Scene 2, where is that knocking coming from? This is once again, there is a dialogue by Macbeth. Where is that knocking coming from? This is where. Where is that knocking coming from? What's happening to me? That I am frightened of every noise? Looking at his hands, and then he looks at his hand and said, whose hands are these? They are plucking out my eyes. Will all the water in the ocean wash this blood from my hands? Can the oceans wipe off all the blood stained my hands are there, and can it wipe it off? No, and instead my hands will stain the sea scarlet, turning the green waters red. Even if I'll push it in the water, even the green waters will turn red. And from where are these knockings coming from? See the psychology of an innocent murderer who was not meant to murder even a bird, but he murdered a king instead. And see the psychologies. Where is that knocking coming from? What's happening to me? Why am I here frightened of every noise? And then, whose hands are these? They are plucking out my eyes. Will all the water in the ocean wash this blood from my hands? No, instead my hands will stain the seas scarlet, turning the green waters red. This is what he says in that Act 2, Scene 2. And then once again, what his wife reassures him. My hands are as red as yours, now, baby. My hands are as red as yours, but I would be ashamed if my heart were as pale and weak. So you are too pale and weak. My hands are also red as yours. Come on, baby. This is how she is trying to give the confidence to her husband. Now, Act 2. She lifts the bloody daggers by the dead king. Just before Macbeth, as I had introduced in the character slide, a nobleman arrives. When Macbeth discovers the murder, Macbeth kills the drunken guards in a show of rage and retribution. He tries to show that these guards who were deployed for the security of the king have in fact killed the king. This is what he tries to show. And then Duncan shuns Malcolm and Donalbain flee, fearing for their own lives, but they are nevertheless blamed for the murder. Now, these two sons of King Malcolm and Donalbain, they flee from the place, and they were also allegations went for them that they have murder, and they were blamed for the murder of the king. They thought, they were convinced by Macbeth and their team that perhaps their sons have killed their own father for the gaining the kingship. This is what. Now, in Act 3, Scene 2, Macbeth becomes king of Scotland, but is plagued by feelings of insecurity. Because now he is very much insecure, because he knows that today or tomorrow, as the prophecy was there also, that he would be not so much there in the throne for long. Now, Lady Macbeth says to him and consoles that nothing is gained. Nothing is gained, all is lost when a wish fulfilled brings no contentment. If you have achieved something and if the contentment is not reached, everything is lost. So my dear husband, try to console yourself, try to bring back to your normalcy. It's better to be the victim of the crime than to live in a worries as a result of the crime. You become a part of the crime. Get yourself involved in the crime rather than delving your life into worries as a result of the crime. So this is where this philosophy comes from, Lady Macbeth. Now, in Act 3, Scene 3, we see that since Macbeth was worried of Banquo, because Banquo was at par with him, and he was also trying to always doubting and have a clear-cut suspicion upon Macbeth. Now Macbeth sees that if I clear this Banquo, my path will be almost safe, and there will be no contender or challenge for me as a king of Scotland. I can reign very peacefully after the death of Banquo. So only cry that then in Act 3, Scene 3, we see that Banquo was murdered, implanted by the professional murderers by the king, new king Macbeth. This is that Banquo is telling in a scene, it will rain tonight. The first murderer who was there to murder Banquo said, then let the rain come down. And then the murderers attacked Banquo. And Banquo, after being attacked and stabbed by the murderer, he said, "Oh, treachery, run, Flens." Flens was his son. "Oh, treachery, run, Flens, run, 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 you can't revenge me. Oh, villains." And he is trying to make his son flee from the place. And that is why he says that, "Oh, treachery, run, Flens, run, 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 run. You can revenge me. Oh, villains." This is how. And then after saying this, he died. He is killed, and Flens escapes from the place. And he was having one, kind of instruction by the dying father that you can revenge me. So we can see how Flens is going to revenge the death of his father. Now in Act 3, we see that in the darkness, Banquo is murdered, but his son escapes the assassins, the murderers. At his estate, Banquo, that night, Macbeth sees the ghost of Banquo and worries the courtiers with his mad response. And then Lady Macbeth dismisses the court and unsuccessfully tries to calm her husband. So following the murder of the Banquo, so this was the double murder. The first one was the murder of the Duncan king, and then the Banquo's murder. Macbeth has lost his sense, and he has invited a Banquo in his court. But in that court, he went into a delirium, And for that reason, his wife, Lady Macbeth, dismisses the court. And she knows that her husband may create some more, doubts and give clear-cut, clues that they are the murderers themselves. Now in Act 4, Macbeth seeks out the witches once again, the first 3 witches, who say that he will be safe, Macbeth will be safe, until a local general, Birnam Wood, marches into battle against him. Unless until Birnam Wood itself will not come to Macbeth, Macbeth is safe. And then how can a general move? So Macbeth was very much reassured, oh thank God, I know that jungle cannot move in itself. So the wood cannot move in itself, so I'll be very much safe. And then he also need not fear anymore, born of woman. So if everybody is born of woman, so if I can be murdered only by a person who is not born of woman, I am safe. Thank you, witches. He is very much relaxed. And that sounds secure, no loopholes here. But see what happens next. In Act 4, the witches also prophecy. They also forecast that the Scottish succession will still come from Banquo's son. Now, flames will come, in succession. This is what their prophecy. In spite of that, he is so safe that he cannot be murdered by a man who is born of a woman. Even then, they are having a next prophecy that the Scottish succession will still come from Banquo's son. Now, Macbeth embarks on a reign of terror and slaughtering many, including Macduff's family. He kills everyone in Macduff's family. He kills because he knows that someone may succeed, because still the prophecy, since all the prophecies are coming true, this prophecy is also that the Scottish succession will still come from Banquo's son. Out of paranoia, Macbeth, on a suspicion, kills many people, many characters in Macduff's family. And Macduff, the nobleman from Scotland, meanwhile, in Act 4 we see that had gone to seek Malcolm, one of Duncan's son, who had fled that time when the king was murdered. Both of them, Malcolm and Donalbain, had fled to different states. So he fled to London, and there Macduff had gone to meet him at the court of the English king. Malcolm is young and unsure of himself. Malcolm knows that I am not able to meet with the might of Macbeth, but Macduff, pained with grief, persuades him to lead an army against Macbeth. Because Macduff's many family members were killed by Macbeth, Macduff was more resolute and firm, and he wanted to take the revenge. So he persuades Malcolm to lead an army against Macbeth. This happened in Act 4. Now in Act 5, Macbeth feels safe in his remote castle at Dunsinane until he is told that Birnam Wood is moving towards him. Now Birnam Wood is moving how? Malcolm's army is carrying branches from the forest as camouflage for their assault on Macbeth's stronghold. So Malcolm was, in fact, what he was doing, that all the armament of Malcolm was taking the woods. They were camouflaging by carrying the branches of the wood. So in that way, that Birnam Wood was coming towards the palace of Macbeth. So one prophecy's condition was going to be met. Now in Act 5, Scene 1, we see that meanwhile an overwrought and conscience-ridden Lady Macbeth walks in her sleep and tells her secrets to her doctor. Now she is also in there. Macbeth is one side trying to meet all these revolts and rebellion against him, and another there inside the palace, Lady Macbeth is going through mental aberration because she also is stricken by guilt conscience. Meanwhile, an overwrought and conscience-ridden Lady Macbeth walks in her sleep and tells her secrets to her doctor, smelling her hands. The smell of blood is still there. Oh my God. The smell of blood is still there. All the perfumes of Arabia cannot sweeten this little hand. And she is that much deeply shying. Oh. Now this is the very, very powerful scene in this tragedy. That lady, criminal-minded, or you can say Lady Macbeth, was also a humble from inside, but because of the love of her husband, she wanted to promote him in a position of the king. So she is finally also stricken in Act 5, whereas in Act 1 and 2 she was very much powerful and convincing, very much convincingly to her husband to kill the king, but now she is also guilty stricken. And she says, the smell of the blood is still there. Even the perfumes of Arabia cannot sweeten this little hand. Oh. This is how. Now, this is where we see that the kind of catharsis or purgation in audience also come when they see that Lady Macbeth is also getting back her conscience. The smell of the blood is still there. All the perfumes of Arabia cannot sweeten this little hand. Now, the next thing we see, now we can see that Lady Macbeth suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. In modern psychology, it is known as PTSD. This is called post-traumatic stress disorder. Also, she was washing her hands every time. She was always giving a very smell of the blood in her hand, and she is found to clean her hands with a lot of water. She is always trying to make her hands once again sweeten, but it was not possible now. So this is called obsessive compulsive disorder. Washing her hands every time, watching the smell of this blood is still there. All the perfumes of Arabia cannot sweeten this little hand. Now, the next, Lady Macbeth in Act 5 scene 1 says, the Lady Macbeth in her delirium, she says that, come to bed. There is some knocking at the gate. Come. Give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed. What's done cannot be undone. Now this is what she is always trying to. She is afraid of her aloneness. She is afraid of her loneliness. And she is always trying to find out that someone is knocking in the palace where she lives. And she is all, come. Invisible audience is there. She is talking to no one. Come. Give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. Come. Give me your hand. No, this is how, come to bed. This is what she is delved into, that kind of psychology, now which is very much, powerful. In Act 5, scene 5, we see that she commits suicide. She could not bear the pain, and we come to know about her suicide. As the final battle commences, Macbeth hears of Lady Macbeth's suicide, and he mourns about it. In the midst of the losing battle, Macduff, who was coming along with the new prince, challenges Macbeth. Macbeth learns Macduff is the child of a Caesarean birth. That time Caesarean birth was considered to be not born of a woman. So Macduff is child of Caesarean birth, and here's the loophole. And then realizes he is doomed and submits to his enemy. So Macbeth finally submits to his enemy. Macduff triumphs and brings the head of the traitor Macbeth to Malcolm. So Malcolm declares peace and goes to Scone to be a crowned king. So finally Malcolm becomes the king. So this is how we could see that this total drama revolves around these things, and I have cited some of the important dialogues which you can cite in your answers. It will give the answer completeness. Otherwise, what happens that your answer appears hollow. So remember the dialogues, try to connect and see the whole story in summary. You can also do the character sketches of Macbeth, and you can also do the character sketches of Lady Macbeth. You can quote these dialogues and you can show how resolute Lady Macbeth is, how weak the Macbeth from within is. So these will help you definitely. Thank you very much, friends. Thanks a lot.